Nye McGee with EURweb.com. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Candace, for giving me your time today to speak about Nat Geo's SharkFest. Dan, of course, you worked on Sharks Up Close with Bertie, Gregory, and Candace Investigation Shark Attack. I was watching Sharks Up Close and just completely blown away with the cinematography. I mean, there were moments where I felt like I was underwater with the host too, right? Obviously, cinematography plays a big role in changing perceptions. So how do you approach filming an animal, a beast like the great white shark?
Sure, yeah, I mean, that is a really good question. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is safety. I mean, that's that's number one for me. It's number one for Bertie. It's number one for Nat Geo. We want everyone to get home safe. And often with sharks, it can be a lot harder than people think because just getting near to sharks can often be really tricky. Often they don't want to be anywhere near us. So you have to go in ready for that. And as you saw in the show, we spend quite a lot of time sitting around not filming white sharks. Um, but yeah, so for us, number safety is priority number one. So we go in with a very strict plan in mind. We need certain diving conditions. We need certain visibility. We need nice calm seas. We have a safety diver with us. We have all those things in place. Um, but it is about, yeah, bringing back these awesome images to kind of make people fall in love with sharks. That's what we're trying to do. But we do still have safety as our number one priority.
What makes the great white shark such a vital part of the marine ecosystem? And what would happen if they disappeared?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a white shark specialist, but all species play a role in their environment, right? We try to maintain sort of an equilibrium in all ecosystems. And with a top predator like the white shark, they they have a variety of roles, many of which, in terms of ecologically, we still have a lot of questions that need to be answered in terms of their exact role. But basically, what I like to say and to basically break it down to easy to understand is that we are not meant to be in the water, right? We're land beings. And so we should be doing all we can to maintain the ocean status quo as it is, right? We should be working towards healthy populations of everything, healthy populations of fish, sharks of different species. And I would also say too, just to kind of tag on to Dan's previous comment, is that the cool thing about putting these sharks on show is that just by having people in the water with them, it shows that people can be in the water with them, right? It's showing that there is a way to interact with these animals in a calm, controlled, safe way that steers your mind away from this, if we're in the water with sharks, the only thing that could possibly happen is bad. Because obviously that's not the case, and all these shows are showcasing that in some way.
And back to you, Dan. I mean, you filmed underwater all over the world. What makes South Africa's water so unique when it comes to capturing shark behavior?
I think what's so addictive about South Africa is we get these brief windows of opportunity, and we get some of them in the show with Bertie, where you get the stars just align and you get the right visibility, the right sea state, the right light, and the right animals in a nice chilled behavior to create these wonderful spectacles. And when you get them, they might never happen again for weeks or months or ever. So each one of them feels like a gift. Yeah, when you get those moments here, they're truly special. And yeah, we got some on Bertie's show, diving with the sharks in the cave, diving with the southern right whales and the dolphins, and even just diving with the seals, like getting the right visibility and the right light, so the images look amazing. They all happen quite seldom, so yeah, it's a real gift when you get those moments.
Now, speaking of those moments, I'm just curious, working so closely with Birdie, who obviously is known for getting right into the action. How does that, for you, Dan, how does that influence your approach behind the lens when you work with a host that is so hands-on and wants to be thrown right into the mix without a cage, no less?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you have to do with filming underwater. When you're filming on land, you can be filming with a drone, you can be filming with a long lens, filming a line a couple of 100 meters away. When you're filming underwater, you have to be close. The further away you are, the worse the images look. But again, it comes back to safety. We're always diving in conditions that we know are safe. We've always got safety divers with us, watching our backs. So for me, I'm obviously focused on the camera, but I know I've got my buddy James right behind me, watching my back in certain situations. So yeah, but it is about bringing back those images that are really experiential. We want the viewer to feel like they're on the dive with us. So the equipment that we select and the kind of shots we try and get, we want people to feel like we're on the dive with Bertie.
Now, speaking of shots, Dan, I mean, technology plays a huge role in wildlife filmmaking, right? So, were there any new tools or techniques you used on this shoot that helped you get closer? I mean, again, as we see in the episode, you guys do spend a lot of time waiting to capture the sharks, right? But
Yeah, yeah. Um, in ways that the dives that we were intending to do were quite old-fashioned in many ways, a scuba tank, a big camera, fall off the boat and go and dive with the shark. But we had to start reaching for a whole bunch of tools to try and find the sharks in the first place. So the drones, the remote cameras that we put all over the peninsula to try and film the sharks because they might be somewhere we weren't expecting. So yeah, we ended up using technology in a way that we didn't initially think we would. And the drones specifically are pretty important for that, and they can be important for safety as well, because you obviously a white shark's pretty big and it stands out against that sandy bottom. So we would always know if a shark were coming in when we weren't expecting it.
I think that translates into the scientific world as well, right? There's constantly new technologies being used, and using even there's a lot of work now done with cameras of a variety of types, drones, basic things like GoPros.
Yeah.
All of that can be used, all these same sort of cinematic equipment is often used for research as well. And I think that that's a great thing because obviously a lot of shark species are threatened with extinction, right? They're, vulnerable, endangered or critically endangered, at least a lot of the species that are often featured on these shows. And you want to be able to understand them as best as possible while minimizing risk of mortality. And obviously, just doing observational work with cameras is a way to still get information, but not have to have any type of hands-on with the shark. And I think that that's, there's a lot of things that are moving in that direction of sort of observational work to get um, abundance data and things like that.
so, how important, in your opinion, is collaboration between science and storytelling when it comes to shifting public perception of sharks and marine life?
I mean, I think it's imperative. It's an imperative pair because, there are many scientists that have done great work, and depending on the topic that they're discussing, in the scientific literature, it might not be accessible to the majority of the public, right? I just shared, for example, some work that I've been doing with my family, and they were like, "We have no idea what this says, but great job." So to then be able to transform that information or kind of package it up in a more digestible way, which is, there are people who are science communicators specifically, right? Um, it's crucial to be able to not only get the important information out there, but like you said, to assist in changing perspectives, even if that's just to inform on the level of threat that these animals are facing, right? Even if that's just to showcase that people can be in shark with sharks and it's not a big deal. It's a vital form to use media to basically enhance the work that you're doing because people don't care about things that they can't see or access, right? You have to know about something to care about it, and um, you're not going to fight for change for something that you don't care about. So hopefully these sorts of programmings help people start to care a little bit more about sharks and understand why they're important, and that will just basically create a larger community that aids in the conservation of sharks.
Dan, what do you hope audiences take away from Sharks Up Close? Not just about sharks, but about the ocean and our relationship with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really great that Sharks Up Close it just shows people that sharks are really a part of our changing world, and the oceans are changing. We're likely to see more shark human conflict over the coming years as the oceans change. I'm speaking specifically of South Africa here, but it's happening all over the world, and it's just important that people um, understand how important sharks are for the oceans, and that we just get systems in place that allow sharks and humans to coexist, which I'm sure Candace's work is really helping to explore as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sums it up perfectly. I think all sort of SharkFest programming, at least that I've been a part of, the key is to sort of sh obviously showcase the science where that is a part of the show, but um, to highlight that we will continue to live in a world that has sharks in it, right? And we're supposed to. Sharks are older than trees. They've been around for 400 million plus years, right? These animals are meant to be in the waters that they live in, and we have to figure out a way to coexist with them harmoniously because as climate changes and all these things, there's so many things that are shifting with the sharks as well, that we have to learn. And, I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about the fact that it's not necessarily that there are more sharks in the water, but there are more people using the water because it's warm for much more of the time than it used to be, right? So, and that's resulting in sharks shifting their range and being in places that people might not expect and all these other things. So, I think that the goal of these shows is to just give people a little bit of a thinking point to when they're using the water and when they're thinking about how to best enjoy their time at the beach or something like that. Just to be aware of their surroundings, not to fear them, but to just understand the situation you're getting yourself into is one that will likely involve a shark being somewhere nearby and you might not even know it, right? Because this people ask all the time, "Oh, is there going to be sharks there?" And my answer is, "Well, it's the ocean." So it's just to get people thinking a little bit more about the fact that we have the privilege of going into their world, and we need to take that responsibility seriously. And it's a privilege to be able to go in the water at any time that you want to swim with these animals, whether you intend to or not. And we should work towards ensuring that people for many, many generations to come can have that experience as well.
We as cinematographers lean on the science so much for the understanding of these animals. And generally the cinematography is falling behind the science because we'll be going out to try and document the things that the scientists have found out. So yeah, we're very much indebted to people like Candace that spend a lot more time in the field than we do gathering all this data in the first place.
Candace, we often hear about threats that sharks face and other marine life. And, we learn in Dan's series about the orca wants to devour the great white shark, right? And some people think the great white is the master of the ocean life, but we learn through series like this that that's not the case. Even the great white is prey for another predator. So, what gives you hope about the future? I mean, the great whites face threats like many of, other ocean life, but what gives you hope about the future of the great white shark, especially in places like South Africa, where we learn human and shark worlds overlap?
Yeah, I mean, first I mean, orcas are just like the most intelligent beings. it's crazy how smart that these orcas are. It's honestly impressive. And like you said, I think that goes to what you're saying, right? Of even great whites have have threats that are non people, um, because obviously the largest threat to sharks and basically all marine life is humans, and that comes in a variety of ways, whether that's boat strikes or overfishing or pollution, right? It's all can come back to people is the biggest threat to marine life. And I think we people got a little bit of a glimpse of how we were impacting, the environment in general in COVID because, things were really slowed down and people were seeing species that they hadn't seen in a while or, you know, the air quality was improved and all these things. And so that just is a testament to the fact that people are sort of the driver of a lot of problems that the environment faces. But I mean, I think what gives me the most hope is that there are more and more people who seem to be on board with the message of sharks are not only are they important, but we are entering their territory, right? So will negative shark human interactions occur? It's the odds are low, right? But it's not, it's going to happen. Just statistically speaking, something will happen, right? The same way the odds are low of a major, getting struck by lightning, but some it will happen. Um, so I think that the fact that there are more people willing to accept the narrative of like, hey, we're going into their world, and if something bad happens, we can't just say sharks are the bad guys. We need to get rid of sharks. And then also that there are more and more young people, not that I'm not young, but younger people who are excited about science as well, because it takes much more than just um, appreciating the animals to ensure that they are able to survive for the future. So the fact that more and more people, more and more people of color, more and more women are getting involved and getting excited about sharks and shark science, I think that's really the biggest hope that I take from all of this.